Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. I'm Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video I want to talk about Bitcoin's new yearly high at 54,500, and I also want to talk about if it's too late to buy Bitcoin now. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X. So Bitcoin today had an absolutely monster move, explosive move to the upside here. You can actually see I have the hourly chart up right now. You can see here that earlier and about today, during about the morning period, we saw Bitcoin just shoot higher, much higher. We started off here at about 51,300, and then you'll notice that as soon as it goes and crosses past this region that I've outlined here in red, this area in which I've identified a significant amount of short liquidity, those shorts got liquidated, squeezed, and it pushed Bitcoin all the way up to a high of about 54,000, almost $55,000 today. So you can see here we had some huge buying going on, especially in this 2-hour time frame of about 500 over here and about 600 over here, so about 1,100 or so Bitcoin buying in just those 2 hours alone and pushing the price so much higher here. And so it's worth kind of taking a look at where Bitcoin is in the grand scheme of things. We actually have to go all the way back. I have to go to the weekly, and we have to take a look at where Bitcoin is now compared to where it has been in order to find the next level of resistance. So the next level of resistance I would put at probably just a little bit higher than where it is currently or where it topped out today. And I'd probably say about 55,000 or so. That's where you're going to see the next level of resistance. Bitcoin tried to climb above this level today, but it failed. And one thing you'll notice here on the weekly is that it's actually above 81 right now on the RSI. So it is actually fairly overbought, judging by an RSI perspective. Now, back in December, it actually went all the way up to about 82 and then sold off. We still have a little bit of room left to run on the RSI, but if we back it out here and we compare it to an area that I think is a little bit more apt of a comparison, which is the beginning of the bull run in 2020, we can see it actually went all the way up to 94. So there is still some room left to run in the Bitcoin price while we head into the halving, which is expected to happen in April. So I want to go ahead and kind of break this down first and understand what exactly happened in today's move. And then we're going to talk about if it's too late to buy. So if we go ahead and take a look at the futures contracts, we can see here that we've had an absolutely massive move to the upside, and we've seen a large number of contracts that are actually pushing more towards the long side dominant as opposed to the short side dominant. We can see here in the funding rates, the funding rates climbed fairly high here off of the liquidation here on the shorts. You can see on the short side we've had significant liquidations here, and if you actually take a look at the total liquidations for CoinGlass, you can see that we have almost $100 million worth of short liquidations in the last 24 hours for Bitcoin. And we can see that that has led to absolutely explosive price growth for Bitcoin. Now, if we take a look at where we were, and you guys will remember this heat map, the reason why I like to keep coming back to the heat map, it's just it's almost like a predictor of movement, that as soon as it kind of crosses past a certain boundary, then that adds fuel to the fire and it pushes up much higher. Now, I've said previously on this channel that I do believe that if we crossed either that level on the about 52,100, 52,200, we would see an explosive move to the upside, which we did, or consequently, if we move to the downside at about 50,500, we would see an explosive move to the downside. And so we have actually seen that explosive move to the upside, and there really just isn't a lot of liquidity currently at these levels. Shorts have gotten spanked, but they will probably come back, and they will probably be defending that $55,000 region very aggressively. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about if it's too late to buy Bitcoin. Now, again, As a reminder, I am not giving you financial advice. I would always recommend that you always do your own due diligence. But coming from my perspective and my own opinion right now, I would definitely, I'm looking to wait for a bit of a pullback for Bitcoin before I would consider buying in at the current prices, especially when you consider on the daily, we're at about 76 RSI, which is fairly overbought. That's not to say that Bitcoin can't keep moving higher. It definitely can keep moving higher, but there has to be a point in which Bitcoin does a pullback. We did see that pullback here during about the weekend or so when it came down here and retested support at 50,500. But I am personally just patiently waiting for a more defined pullback, and it could actually be that we run all the way up to 55 and then all the way up to 60 and then maybe even all the way to all-time high before we wind up actually seeing that pullback after the halving. That's definitely a possibility, but I am just not I'm not impatient. I will stay patiently waiting for a more attractive entry point. And so far, we really have not seen many attractive entry points except for maybe just last weekend. And then, of course, before that, about the start or so of February. But there are some people who actually do like Bitcoin in this range. And one of those people happened to be Michael Saylor. He announced that MicroStrategy acquired another 3,000 Bitcoin at an average price of 51,800. Okay, so MicroStrategy, not a big surprise to people who follow the channel or follow Michael Saylor. They're going to be consistently DCAing, dollar cost averaging, and buying Bitcoin at set intervals, and they have continued to do that. And Michael Saylor is saying that basically 51,800 is not too expensive for Bitcoin, so it's likely that they've accumulated shares in this area of sideways consolidation, and they will probably continue to buy Bitcoin for the foreseeable future. Now, they hold 193,000 Bitcoin at $31,500 per Bitcoin at an average price, okay? So Michael Saylor isn't the only person who's directing his company here to buy Bitcoin. You've also seen a large number of inflows to the Bitcoin spot ETFs. If we go here, we take a look at the NASDAQ and the NASDAQ website. They actually did a whole article about this in which they talked about the inflows. Okay, so they said from Tuesday, February 20th to Friday, February 23rd, the BTC Spot ETF market saw total net inflows of $575 million, okay, which is admittedly down from about $1.7 billion of net inflows from Tuesday to Friday the previous week. So it has come down a little bit, but that being said, you're still talking about $570 million worth of inflows last week. And I can guarantee you that we're actually going to be seeing a larger amount of inflows coming in just based off of today alone. We're definitely going to wind up seeing the momentum buyers come in and push the price even higher, buying like IBIT and GBTC and the other Bitcoin spot ETFs. So I definitely expect that we're going to continue to see some very strong demand going forward for Bitcoin. And so just as a reminder, you guys can also track this on Apollo as well. Apollo Bitcoin ETF. It shows you the Bitcoin holdings over time, even though these have not updated to the most up-to-date week. These numbers will probably come in a little bit later. Now, if we take a look at what that looks like on the exchange reserve, we can see here that exchange reserve continues to hit a new low. The number of Bitcoin on exchanges continues to plummet, going from about 2,045,000 to about 2,035,000. Okay, so we saw a large exodus of about 10,000 Bitcoin leaving the exchanges just in a couple of days. Okay, so we're really starting to see things heat up ahead of the Bitcoin halving, which again is supposed to happen in April. So I also want to go ahead and talk about what's going on this week for the economic calendars. Now, today there's not really a lot going on here. But Tuesday, they have the Case-Shiller Index, and they also have some Fed chairs that are speaking as well, consumer confidence on Tuesday. Wednesday, it's going to be the GDP first revision happening. So this will be very interesting to see. They're forecasting at 3.3% for GDP growth for the U.S. And I think that, again, if they do another revision and it winds up higher, that's going to be bullish for the market. You have Fed president speaking all throughout the week as well. And then Thursday, Very important day here. You have the PCE index that's going to be reported. Okay, so the Fed's going to be looking at this and seeing if inflation has actually continued to go down, or if it's following March and it's showing an elevated rate from say the December comparison. So we'll see with PCE index if that actually comes in line or if it actually beats. Again, if it beats, that's going to be bullish because inflation will be going down and the Fed will be able to cut rates. And Bitcoin loves a low interest rate, a low Fed funds rate. I've made several videos on this. There's a negative correlation between the two of them, so definitely make sure you guys check that out. If you're curious, I'll definitely I'll put that video at the top of the top right corner for the links. You guys want to check that out, and then on Friday we have some construction spending, ISM, manufacturing, S&P U.S. manufacturing as well, and some Fed presidents speaking. So the big day here is going to be Thursday, specifically for that PCE number. Now, you guys remember that a couple of weeks ago when they had CPI and CPI came in higher than expected, the entire market went down, okay? And that can be, I always look at those as a buying opportunity for me. Again, personally, this is not financial advice. Do your own research. And I think that this week is actually setting up fairly well for Bitcoin. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys think that Michael Saylor was a little excited to buy Bitcoin at 51,800, if you guys would consider buying Bitcoin at these prices, or if you're more interested in waiting for a pullback like myself. Just one final note that Bitcoin never just goes straight up in a line. There's always pullbacks, even in a bull market, and there's always opportunities for attractive entry points. Now, leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.